this type of skirt construction has been done for centuries. It has been done by peasants by candlelight who were malnourished and watching their 10 kids at the same time. You can make this. It is simple. It is elegant. It is beautiful in its simplicity. Hi, my name is Christy, and I am here to show you how to crochet the split seam adjustable waist skirt. I did not invent this. I saw this pattern in the sewing community. It goes around all the time because it is probably the best way to create a skirt. This is a historical skirt construction, meaning that this has been done for hundreds of years. This type of skirt construction comes from a time when women needed a skirt that would fit snugly at the waist but would still fit over their hips, and the garment that they made would need to last them probably the rest of their lives. Before fast fashion, before really fashion in general, this was the way to create a petticoat that would last forever because it gets bigger as you get bigger, it gets smaller as you get smaller, and it should fit for the rest of your life within reason. So the reason why this is the best type of skirt to crochet is because it's going to take you hours to create the fabric in order to make this skirt. And that type of time investment should still pay off 5 years down the road. But I don't know about you, but I don't fit into any of my pants from 5 years ago. This skirt should still fit. The other reason that this is the best type of skirt construction is because there are two waistbands that are holding up the weight of the skirt. And crochet is a very dense, heavy fabric, and sometimes having all of that weight on one waistband would be very uncomfortable. So having it spread out along two waistbands kind of gives the effect of like having suspenders for your jeans, where it takes the weight off of your waist and it doesn't dig into your skin, and it is very comfortable. And the final reason is because it doesn't use any zippers or any elastics or anything, just the fabric that you crochet will be enough. So I looked at sewing tutorials in order to learn how to do this. And if this skirt construction is still confusing after this video, you might want to go check some of those out to get a better idea of how the skirt is made. But essentially, you are going to crochet two aprons that go on the front of your body and the back of your body, exactly like an apron would. And then once we are a couple inches down, then we're just going to connect the aprons at the side and then crochet in the round the rest of the way. And this gives the effect of having like a jean zipper on each side of the waist so that it will fit up and fit snugly. There's going to be an overlap of some fabric, which means that if your waist circumference gets bigger, the fabric will stretch and there will still be an overlap. And if your waist circumference gets smaller, then the overlap simply increases and it will still fit very snugly. Now, while this is a tutorial, I am not actually going to teach you how to crochet. In order to make this garment, I wouldn't say that this is a beginner pattern. I would say that you need to know how to crochet. You need to know how to crochet in the round. And I'm going to be talking about some terms like turning your work, starting chains, single crochet, double crochet. That's probably it. This is not a beginner pattern. It's easy to do, but you need some foundational skills first. And also you don't have to follow the exact stitch patterns that I am doing because I'm going to show you how to construct this skirt with whatever stitch patterns that you are comfortable with and that you like to do. So if I'm doing something that is slightly outside of your skill level or is too complicated or it's too boring for you, you want to do something that is more complicated, you can substitute all of the stitches that I'm going to do for your own. This is more just getting the concept of the split seam adjustable waist skirt from the sewing community to the crochet community. I'm breaking it out. We are spreading the good news. So for the rest of this video, I will be calling this skirt the SAW skirt or the SAW pants, SSAW, because it's just easier to say. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be making a SAW pair of shorts, and that will just inherently teach you how to make a skirt as well. But I want a pair of shorts, so that's what I'll be doing. I am very excited to make this pattern because I have been wanting a pair of shorts like this because I just want a pair of crochet shorts. I think that they're going to be boho. I think that they're going to be adorable and have the perfect yarn for it. Now, I got to level with you. I don't make tutorials on this channel. I am making a tutorial this time because I do think that beginners can make this pattern. This shouldn't be the very first garment you ever make. You should have a little bit of experience with how to crochet side to side, how to crochet in the round, how to slip stitch, yada, yada, yada. But I do think that this could be the first pair of bottoms that you ever make. I think it should be the first pair of bottoms that you ever make. The other style that I have seen in order to crochet bottoms is where you make a stretchy waistband that will go over your hips and then be tight at your waist. But if you're anything like me, that method doesn't work because I have a hip to waist ratio that is about 10 inches different. And so anything that is stretchy enough to fit over my hips just simply is never going to stretch back to be small enough to fit snugly at my waist. And I know that there are a lot of other women who have the exact same problem that I do, because I think that everyone can make this skirt, and I think that it is the best type of skirt to make. I genuinely do, which is why I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and doing a tutorial. Starting with the waistband, I am going to be crocheting the waistband using the size 5 hook and the moss stitch. You don't need to do this stitch. You can do double crochet, single crochet, treble crochet, granny stitch, whatever you can think of to make your waistband. But I have included a little diagram with how to do the moss stitch that you can screenshot to follow along with this exact waistband if you want. And what we're going to do is make one waistband that is about 2 to 3 inches shorter than your waist measurement where you want the skirt to sit. And we need a second waistband that is about 2 to 3 times the length of your waist, and that is going to tie around your back like an apron, and it's going to be the waistband that is actually seen on the garment. I recommend making the waistband about 2 inches thick, noting that it is going to shrink up when it is stretched, and it's also going to lose about 1/8 of an inch when we crochet along the bottom to add the actual skirt. So I would make it slightly thicker than you actually want, but the actual thickness is just up to your personal preference. I find that a too thin waistband isn't very comfortable, it kind of digs in. That is just my personal preference. Yours may be different. To demonstrate the moss stitch for you really quick, I'll be using this skirt that I am making over on Instagram. So I start with a starting chain that is a multiple of 2 plus 2, then crochet into the back bump of the second chain from the hook. I do a single crochet, chain 1, skip a chain, single crochet, chain 1, skip a chain, and that way you have this holey fabric. At the end of the row, you're going to crochet into the last chain, which is a single crochet, then chain 1 as your turning chain, single crochet into that stitch, single crochet into the chain 1 gap, and then chain 1 and single crochet into the next chain 1 gap. The end of the row, you're going to have 2 single crochet in a row, and then we'll go back and do basically the first row that we already did. So you're just going to single crochet into the chain 1 spaces and then do a chain 1 over all of the single crochet. So it's going to alternate in this really pretty moss pattern that you saw earlier. I recommend this stitch, especially if you're making a big project, because the visual of the fabric is that it is solid, even though you're only crocheting every other stitch, which is really good for me for this project, because as you can see, I'm trying to make a fingering weight maxi skirt. Am I insane? Yes. So once the 2 waistbands are finished, we're going to try them on. So here you can see I've got about 2 inches of space left in between, which we want. We're going to use a drawstring there later on. And then for the front panel, this needs to fit more like an apron. I like a bigger bow, so I make mine a little bit longer, but if you want a smaller bow, then you could make yours a little bit shorter. Keep in mind that these two need to layer nicely. So if you're using a very thick yarn, go ahead and try them on layered like this to make sure that the fit is still to your liking. So now it's time to crochet the actual skirt. I'm going to start with the back panel and recommend that you do the same. So we want this to, again, be like an apron where it kind of starts halfway across your body as opposed to going the full length of the waistband. So I measured off about 14 stitches, and that's where I attached my yarn. And we are going to do 2 double crochets across each stitch here. So this is an entire row of double crochet increases, and that is to give the skirt the correct shape so that it will have a little bit more volume. My hip measurement is about 10 inches bigger than my waist measurement. So if you have a bigger discrepancy than that, then you might need another row of increases, or maybe adding 3 double crochet into each stitch. You might do 2 rows of increases in order to get the right amount of fabric. The way that you can tell if you have enough is to just take your tape measure and measure the length of the stitches once you're done with that row. You might need 2 or 3 rows in order to be able to get a more accurate measurement. So make sure that during this phase, you're stopping and trying the skirt on at basically every single point.
So the point of this double crochet is to add basically a ruffle. If you were sewing this skirt, you would add a gather or pleats. So here I'm demonstrating that when the waistband is stretched, the double crochet doesn't stretch at all and there is a lot of slack there, and that is what we want. So once the row of double crochet increases is done, you're just going to treat that like it's your foundation chain or your starting chain for the rest of the skirt for the stitch pattern. And for me, my stitch pattern actually does include a row of double crochet every other row, so it looks like part of the skirt pattern, but for the previous skirt I made, it really wasn't part of it, and it still looked fine, so I just find this the easiest. But if you need to do increases with another type of stitch, like a single crochet or something different, that should be just fine. If you want to do the exact stitch pattern that I am doing, then I am doing one row of double crochet and one row of what I'm calling a tilted lemon peel stitch, which is where you put one single crochet and one double crochet in the same stitch, then skip a stitch, and then single crochet and double crochet into the next stitch.
So I have taken this down to just about where my jean pocket is, as opposed to something that is a lot lower, like a sweatpant pocket. I'm keeping it a little bit shorter. The opening should be enough for me to get through, because we're going to have the same amount of opening on each side. So you can think of this like a jean zipper, where it will be able to open up like that. And having one on each side gives you like double the opening. So you don't have to make this that long in order to actually fit you. I am really happy with how this is turning out. So it is now long enough, as we've demonstrated. It is the right size. So I'm going to cut off my yarn here and then attach to the front panel and do a similar method to crochet the front of the skirt. This is always so nerve-wracking. Okay, we committed. So with the back panel, we went halfway plus 1 inch. And for the front panel, I want a little bit more overlap, because that is going to hopefully be the part where you can put your hand in, and it needs to cover up the front. So instead of going like 1 inch pass, I'm going to go about 4 inches pass, about right here. So it's going to fit like that. That should be good. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. So let's look at the tails. Pretty good. So I'm just going to count stitches and make sure that there's an even number of stitches on this side as there is on this side, and then just move this up or down either way. And then do the same exact thing where we are going to double crochet in each stitch across. So you can see kind of each row. This counts as a stitch. This counts as a stitch. 2 double crochet in each one of those little spots. And depending on what your waistband looks like and what stitch you chose, it's going to look a little bit different. But a good rule of thumb is that if you're doing a double crochet, then that fits 2 stitches. A single crochet fits 1 stitch, and a half double crochet also fits 1 stitch, but you could squeeze on 2 kind of depending on the thing. So because we're doing increases, you're just going to double all those numbers. So if you have double crochet for your waistband, you're going to add 4 double crochet into each one, because we are doing twice as many as you would typically have, which hopefully that isn't that confusing. That should be good, but it is always good to test your theory. So I'm going to tie my little drawstring, which this is what I will do with the finished product as well. You can get a nice looking ribbon or a shoelace or whatever you want, because this is going to be covered by the front panel anyways. So this closure can be as unfinished and ugly as you please. Okay, so this is fitting a little bit tight because I have it on my natural waist instead of where I want the shorts to fit, but that's just because I got pants on and we'll just wear it looser. So what I'm looking for here is that this stitch marker is going to mark the end of the front panel, and that there's going to be a good amount of overlap. So I like the way that this is looking. Okay, I'm going to leave these stitch markers in, but I am going to crochet like 1 stitch less, probably to right about here. And then when we get to the end of the panel, we will connect them and then start crocheting in the round. But for now, this will be the exact same as this back panel. And now I'm going to crochet 2 double crochet in each row across, just like that. Well, I've got fantastic news. That was a lot faster than I thought. Did it all in one night. So Now we have a matching front panel and a matching back panel. So I'm going to try them on together for the final fit, and then we are going to do the hard part, but it's really not that hard. Starting off, we're going to put the back panel on. Now we'll put the front on. So this is where the illusion comes in. If these are lined up perfectly, then this will look like a pocket hole, and it will be, no one will know that that is actually a seam. So now I am going to add a stitch marker to here and then make it match on the other side. And then we will forget about this flap, leave that alone, and we will crochet in the round from here to around here. Okay, so I'm in the 12th stitch, and we want to make sure we're within that range on this side. Okay, so this is how the shorts slash skirt will fit. Okay, looks pretty good. So up to this point, we've been crocheting side to side, which means that there's a right side of the fabric and a wrong side of the fabric. You can see this is the right side, and this is the wrong side where there's kind of no pattern. Depending on the stitch pattern that you use, that really won't matter. It's going to look the same either way. But one thing to keep in mind is when we start crocheting in the round, you can choose to have a right side and a wrong side by turning your work, or you can keep just one side being on the outside. If you've ever done amigurumi, then that would have been keeping everything on the correct side. So we will not turn our work if you want to continue with all the stitches facing the same direction. For me, I will be turning my work because otherwise the fabric would look like this every other row. And yeah, so in order for me to keep the stitch pattern that I chose going evenly, every time we get to the end of the row, I will turn my work and start working the opposite way, as opposed to just chaining and not turning my work and continuing around in the same direction. So this next row, crocheting in the round, is going to be part of the hard part. And then once that is done, you are basically home free for the rest of the skirt. Then it will just be all in one column all the way down if you're making a skirt. And if you're making shorts, then we are going to go right to where your shorts would turn into shorts. So what I am going to do next is to just basically slip stitch into the double crochet on this row and then chain one for my pattern, and then just do the next row all the way around, and that will connect the two pieces of fabric. Very, very exciting.
All right, you can see we've got our two little apron pieces here, and I'm going to demonstrate how I connect them. There's not any like special method to doing this. You either just slip stitch and then turn your work, or just continue crocheting on as normal. So I make sure that I have them facing the correct direction, as if it's one continuous piece of fabric here. I will slip stitch into this stitch and then continue stitching as if this is the exact same piece of fabric here. If I was not turning my work, then I would just continue going in this direction. You also want to make sure that you have the back apron piece on the back and the front apron piece on the front. But because I will be turning my work, I will slip stitch and then simply turn my work and start working back on the first apron piece. So now I'll turn my work here, just pretend like this is one continuous piece of fabric, and then go right into the first stitch here. And it would be possible, I haven't done this because I worry about how it would look on the fabric, but you could continue to like slip stitch along here like this if you wanted. I'm not going to be doing that. That would just seal this fabric together, but I prefer to just stitch it in at the end. So we're just going to ignore it. Okay, so that fabric is now connected as if it is one piece. And then I would continue crocheting all along this row till I get here. And then once I get to the end of this fabric, I will line these up, slip stitch here, and then continue crocheting along the back panel in the round all the way down until the skirt is long enough or until I'm ready to split it into shorts, depending on what I'm going to do. This is going to be a pair of lounge pants. So hopefully that is a good enough explanation for how to turn the two apron pieces into one solid piece of fabric. You just make sure that you have the same number of rows on each side, which you can do by counting and then also just holding them up. They should look the same. And then continue crocheting along them, ignoring the inner flap of the back panel and pretending that these are all just one continuous piece of fabric here on both sides. And then you should have a tube with two holes here that you can either turn into pockets, which I will not be doing, but you certainly can do that. The only reason I don't is because I am not good enough at sewing to add in pockets. And then I also worry that it would add too much bulk because I'm not very skilled at sewing, that I wouldn't be able to get them flat enough to have them not interrupt the silhouette that I'm going for. So for a sheath style dress, if I added pockets, I would worry that it would cause a lot of bulk around my waist, which I don't want. I want it to be a nice smooth silhouette. And the same thing with these pants. I will not be adding pockets, but maybe someday if I get really good at it, then I'll be able to do that. Okay, that is just a little tutorial about how that is done. Now we're going to get back into the shorts. I'm going to continue crocheting it on my Instagram. You can see that the yarn is really small. The stitches are really small. It's going to take me forever to do it. So I'm just going to be posting updates there. It's kind of a crochet along. Once this tutorial is out, feel free to follow me and we can go and crochet our garments together. Here's what the skirt looks like. Now that I've crocheted a couple of rows in the round, you can see that the seams look like pockets, and indeed many sewists do add pockets there.
At this point, your skirt is ready to just go, and you can continue to crochet until you run out of yarn or motivation, whatever comes first. So for me, I'm going to split these into shorts and show you how to do that. But if you are doing the skirt, congratulations, you're done. Well, you got to go a little bit more. I mean, maybe not. The like extra mini skirt, the super mini skirt, those are in style or something. I don't know. Okay, that's that. Here we are. I've got on a pair of shorts, which I find is a nice practice just to kind of make sure that they're going to fit how you want. So I basically just ran out of yarn, which is why I am stopped here. But what I am going to do is complete this row and then add a chain stitch right in the middle and connect it to the back here. And then after that, you're going to have two tubes that you can crochet around all the way down.
I tried to explain this with the garment on, and there was so much pointing and suggesting that it didn't work. So I'm here at the table. So if you want to make your skirt into shorts, then you simply crochet the skirt long enough to where it would be fitting like a normal pair of shorts, and then take some scrap yarn and add a chain stitch long enough to go in between your legs comfortably. After you attach it, you want to count, I'm going to say 6 or 7 times. You're going to want to count to make sure that each leg has the same number of stitches, because you're going to think that it's the same and then you're going to count it again and it's going to be different. So I'm going to crochet my next row, which is the double crochet row. I'm going to do that on both legs and then stop and count again to make sure that I have the same number. And then once I'm triple sure that I have the same number on each leg, then I am going to crochet one leg all the way down and then the other leg all the way down. And y'all, that's literally it. It's done. Ugh, aren't you so proud? Good job. You just made the best pair of shorts / pants / skirts of all time. Congratulations. This garment is going to fit you today, tomorrow, any day of the month, if you get me. You can make a voluminous pair, you can make a slim pair, you can make any stitch pattern you want, any color palette you want. And you can basically guarantee that you're going to be able to wear this garment that you spent hours on for the rest of your life. I'm so pleased. I knew you could do it. Well, that is the split seam adjustable waist shorts and skirt and hopefully pants. I am working on a pair of pants, but it is fingering weight yarn, so it is going to take me 11 years. So you can follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up with that project. And I styled the shorts today for winter because it is January, but if you want to see them styled for spring, also go follow me on Instagram because I'll be posting some more outfits with these once it's a little more weather appropriate because I love them. They turned out really, really great. My goal with making this tutorial was to just bring the construction method to the crochet community because I have seen it floating around the sewing community, and while I have a sewing machine, I never use it. So again, this is a historical way to construct skirts and shorts and underwear, and it is not something that I came up with or even popularized. It has been popular within the sewing community forever. All right, well, if you would like to see some more projects, go ahead and subscribe. I have a lot of yarn behind me that is burning a hole in my stash that I'm very excited to get to and make some more innovative, interesting clothing items, maybe some accessories, maybe some home decor. We have a lot planned for the future, so feel free to stick around if you would like to do that. Leave a like if you liked it as well, and if you decide to make a pair of shorts or skirts or pants like this using this method, please tag me in it and let me see them because I am so curious to see what this will look like on other people. I did my best to find other examples online and I could find absolutely no photos, so I am so curious to see what other people come up with, what stitch patterns they use, what garments they decide to make using this construction method. It is going to be so cool. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.